Hello there, great person, and welcome back to Let's Dive into Warhammer 40k. Today it's all about the Necrons, and about their history, and about the book, The Infinite, and the Divine, which I read. Yeah, I finally read it, you recommended it to me, and we are going to discuss it today. So it's not going to be a lore reaction per se, it's just my thoughts about the book. Should you read it? Was it good? What were its qualities? And we will talk about that today. But before we start, please consider liking, subscribing. We're almost at 2,000 people, and when we reach 2,000, I will do a live stream and we will do some fun content. Perhaps play some Deathwing, or perhaps read through the wiki, or perhaps watch the Bricky army video, like which army to get, because I want to get an army soon-ish. So let's see. But yeah, I've talked enough now about things that are not the Infinite and the Divine. So, how did I like the book? Yeah, this was okay. I can't give a straight face. This was a brilliant book, one of the best ones I've read. Even I was very involved. It was very, very well written. I was actually very surprised about how well this was written. So the author is Robert Rath, and should we ever get some Necron stuff on the big screen, I hope he will write the script, because the way this story was created and thought out, and the macro layer was right and the micro layers were all right as well. So it was very, very well put together storyline. So we start the story on a planet that has no name, which was, I didn't expect that, and I will talk about it more about this planet, of course, because the planet is basically the central thing about this novel, at least if you don't look at the characters. So we have this planet, and in the end it will be called Serenade and then lose its name again because of things we will discuss. And so it starts with describing how life evolved on that planet, which was very cool. And the theme of people or life dying to make to lay a foundation for the next life. That was the theme they Robert Rath started to put into the book here. Was lovely. It was almost exactly like Earth's evolution. I felt a bit how was the planet shaped, plate tectonics, volcano eruptions, all that stuff. And in the end we had some animals actually, and the animals emerged from the sea, went to the land, and then Necrons came and Necrons landed. And first I didn't even get what was going on, because I'm a noob, don't know anything about this. I know some stuff now, but I was so confused. It said there was a beast with talons and black as night, and I was like, oh, do I know that? Is that an elder? And I looked it up and I didn't find anything, and then later in the book I realized, okay, it was one of those night sky scythes. I can't pronounce that, sorry, but it obviously was that, and it was someone arriving at the planet, apparently. Oh, and by the way, the planet, yeah, we get to that later, who built the planet, because that was badass as well. It was so weird. So then that was we went into this book like that, and I loved it. Was very well written, and the way the evolution of the planet was written, I mean, that's hard to write, and I think this was brilliantly done. And then we start off some millions of years later or whatever, and then we meet one of our two protagonists, and he's called Trezine. Trezine is a collector, and what does he collect? Everything, and he collects basically everything. He's got this Tomb World's Solmans. I can't really pronounce that name. It was Solmanens. He's got a Tomb World, and on the Tomb World he has this underground system of vaults and storages, and he just collects everything in his Pokeballs or in his dimensional things that he has. Like he has these little devices and he can freeze moments of space and time in them and take them with him, and he puts them into this giant underground complex and wants to preserve history, wants to preserve cultures, which was quite interesting, and we will talk about him a bit more later. But basically he goes into to this planet we were introduced to, and it's now ruled by the Eldari, and the Eldari apparently have like dinosaurs. Okay, I think I remember that from somewhere, that they sometimes do have dinosaurs, but yeah, they had dinosaurs. And he was there with like, I think 12 Necrons, and he just landed and he started fighting his way to the temple to get this weird gemstone that's in the middle, and the Eldari were worshipping that gemstone. And so they fight a bit, and in the end he's a bit overwhelmed because the Eldari seem to know that he was coming, which is strange, but we only learn that a bit later. So and then he gets the gemstone, and but suddenly when he just came back home from this trip from scavenging or from stealing the gemstone from the Eldari, who are like, their whole culture is gonna probably blow up because like their treasure is gone, and they're all, oh god. Yeah, and then we meet our second protagonist, who's called Orican, and Orican is another Necron, and he doesn't care about the past, he's all about the future. Because you see, he's a chronomancer. That means he can calculate the future from physics laws, mainly gravity apparently, but he has these great skills in calculating stuff. So he's basically trying to predict the future from his calculations, and that's apparently an art they have. And yeah, that was like the setup for this, and then the story basically starts. Then the story really gets going. Some thoughts I had about the part where Trazyn is attacking the Eldari. One, what was that skull from? Like, what was that, another dinosaur? Was that something that a certain someone we meet later placed there? Like, was it artificially created? That was weird. Also, the Necron were weaker in the book than I thought they would be. They were still pretty powerful, don't get me wrong, they were powerful, but like when some Necron soldiers like got their got bisected or whatever, it took some time for them to reform, and that was a bit weird. And they never reformed like as this liquid, but it was more like, I know they said they were made from living metal, but it was more like living circuitry and living matter. Like, not metal, like it wasn't like metal that flowed, but it was, and now I understand, I think, what some people told me when they said it was not nanites. Like, it was, the cables came back together and stuff, and they reshaped from that. And some part of it is like this liquid metal stuff, but not all of it. So yeah, that was a bit weird. That they were like, okay, 12 against the whole continent, but still, that was very interesting. Like, against the humans, I think they were pretty powerful. Against the orcs, they were pretty efficient as well. Like, it was okay. But against the Eldari, he struggled a lot. Okay, they were only 12. I give them that, but yeah. And what I really liked was, and it was something that started here, was the member berry train we got. Something akin to that, because we met Eldari here in the beginning, and down the line we met basically every faction, I guess. At least, like, the only faction we didn't meet, as far as I know, was Chaos, and they were heavily mentioned on one place, which was absolutely hilarious as well. And so we got Eldari, we got Orcs, we got Tyranids, humans, Space Marines, Mechanicus, we got even Drukhari. So I really liked that, and they used Trazyn's skills of collecting stuff and being able to conjure that up in battle so well, and it made so much sense that we had all these member berry fan service moments, which was hilarious. But I loved it. I loved how they used the way Trazyn could freeze moments in time. It was so cool. I loved it. And yeah, so Orican is stealing something from Trazyn whilst Trazyn is out collecting his weird gemstone stuff thing. And he steals this thing called a Mysterios, which is like seems to be a key. It's a key to a tomb. And in that tomb, apparently, there lies the ancient Necron tier. He was called Nefret the Untouched, which was a Necron tier who did not get the cancerous diseases and problems that everyone else in the Necron tier people had. And that's why he was called the Untouched. And he was buried in a tomb, sealed away, hidden, almost a myth in time. And they wanted to get him to his body because the body was obviously Necron tier body. So they were hopeful to re-engineer either the Necron tier body or to ascend to energy beings like the Satan were, which is already, that started some alarm clocks, I have to admit. So yeah, and the Mysterios that Orican stole is the key to that one, and basically everything that now happens is the council. I'm sorry, the council is first. So then Trazyn goes to the Necron council that is provisionally governing the Necron, because most Necrons are asleep, some are awake. And they have this provisional government, so to speak. And Trazyn's like, he stole from me. And then Orican is asked to come, very peacefully, of course. And then they're both there, and Orican is on trial. And it's hilarious because Orican is just rewinding time every time a judgment is passed on him that he doesn't like, and no one understands it. It's very, very, that was very funny, and Orican's just like trolling them. And in the end, the Mysterios, this key, they declare it to be of all Necron possession. So like they say, everyone can steal it. We will not persecute you for that. Like, you can steal it however you want, and if you kill to get it, it's okay. Because we will have this hunt for the tomb, and Orican and Trazyn then start this wild goose chase, and it's just like 200 pages of them trolling each other. It was so funny, and it was also, they sometimes kill each other almost, and normally in books, like in these situations, you think, oh god, are they gonna kill each other now? Like, no, it was so obvious that none of them is gonna die. I mean, in the end, I was worried for them, but like through the book, I knew it was titled like the Infinite and the Divine. So why would I worry for any of those two? And like every time, it's like a tense situation, and they troll each other so much. It's so funny. It was so funny. Like once Orican has the Mysterios, and he's like doing research on it, and Trazyn starts smashing meteors into the planet to get in to steal it again. It was so funny, and then he's very, very cross that it doesn't work, and it was like, that was hilarious. And the best part is, so they finally understand, oh, the tomb is on the world where Trazyn stole the gem from in the beginning, and it is now ruled by or colonized by some humans, and orcs are gonna attack it. So they have to go down. They have to fight some orcs, and yeah. So basically, they fight the tomb in the end, and they work a bit together. Like they fight the orcs together. I think they only use 2 ships to like smash apart, I think 10 or 11 orc ships, but they almost end up dying as well. But they like are pretty efficient against orcs, so it was pretty fun as well. And then they go down the tomb, and then they start turning on each other again, because they always do that. That's like the running joke. They turn on each other they feel like an old married couple all the time. It was pretty fun. And then they turn on each other, and then they're in front of the door to the tomb and start fighting each other. And then this provisional government council comes in and says, no, stop it, you two, stop it, no, Tracy, no Orican. And then they stop, because they get taken, like their armies are taken over by the council, and then they can't do anything anymore. And the council is pretty pissed, because I laughed so much about that, because through the time travel that Orican did in the to get his to get the verdict he wants, he weakened the materium, and chaos poured into the council planet, and they had some, and it wasn't bad, like they just repelled it, but they were so pissed about it. It was so funny. It was like, because I had in mind this trailer of Dark Tide, was it, where chaos spread in, and it was like, oh god, they're gonna kill us all, and Space Marines had to come in, and it was like the Hive City was about to fall, and here it was like this person remarked, they came in and we had to deal with them. Can you believe that? It was so inconvenient. It was so funny. It was, I'm still, oh man. You see, I'm already laughing again. It was so funny. I loved that scene. I loved it. It was so good. Anyway, and they are told, they are both told, yeah, you know what? Please, could you just work together now? It's okay. And they were accused of actually killing one of the other council members of this provisional council, but that one just disappeared. No one knows where he is. And so they are given a punishment. They have to work together to figure out how to open the door to the tomb, because it is open every 5,000 years or something, because it can only be opened at certain times. So they have to live 5,000 years disguised as humans on this planet, and they have to figure out how to open the door. And that was actually one of my favorite parts of the whole of the whole book, that part. And it is called Exterminatus because they have the prophecy, or not the prophecy, the chronomancers, they predict that there will be an Exterminatus on the planet, and it will coincide with the next time the tomb can be opened. So they say, yeah, you know what? Hurry, please, hurry. Just do your job. And so in the next years, it's like the Orican and Trazine both become colleagues, like start to see each other and talk to each other, and they go to operas together disguised, and they seem to get along. Still, they are still, like, Trazine is still trolling Orican. Like, it was also so funny. So Orican is meditating, and he has this meditation he does because that makes his calculations better, and he can calculate more, and he gets in sync with the universe, so to speak. And he's even connected to another Necron that's still in the tomb, apparently, that created this mysterious thing they use as a key, and that laid out hints they followed. So he's meditating there, and suddenly he's attacked by a gene stealer that Trazine let loose to troll him. And it was really just to troll him. Like, that was so hilarious as well. Like, Trazine is just trolling him all the time. Like, he just puts down his weird Pokeball, Tesseract, Labyrinth things or whatever they are, and spawns stupid stuff to annoy Orican. It's so funny. I loved that. And I didn't even understand that it was a gene stealer. I just thought it was a weird thing he set free, and I didn't realize till later, and I will get to that, where I again laughed my ass off. It was so funny. But again, so this gene stealer attacks Orican, he just kills it. Or no, he doesn't kill it, he hurts it, he cuts off one of its arms, and then it like goes into the dark, it's frightened, goes away. We will never hear from it again. Yeah, you know. Anyway, they're bickering again, like, did you try to kill me? No, if I tried to kill you, I would have sent 6. So, like, he's just trolling him. And then the time of Exterminatus comes a bit nearer, and the tomb opening is nearer, and they are pretty sure they can open it before the Exterminatus. They go into this opera together, look at it, like, reminisce a bit about immortality and aging, what it means, which is the theme of the book. I will talk about that in a moment. But that's what they do. and suddenly everyone's going batshit insane. And it turns out the stupid Gene Stealer he tried to troll Orican with just started a Gene Stealer cult and is now undermining the governmental structures and attacks, and the Imperials are there and witness it, and that's why the Exterminatus happens, just because of Trazin's stupid trolling. Hilarious, I loved it. It was so stupid. And then I realized that it was a Tyranid. Only then, because it was like, okay, the weird four-arm thing is back, and then it said, and it had formed a Gene Stealer cult, and then I was, oh, that's what the cult was that we're talking about, that was rumored all the time. Anyway, then the Gene Stealers start to fight with some Imperial guards, and they run down, and they use the commotion to go down to the tomb door, and then the Exterminatus happens, and now I know what it is. It's like taking the planet's surface and cracking it open to like eradicate all life on the surface and make it a barren world, completely unfit for life. It reminded me a bit of what the Tyranids leave the worlds as, like these sucked dry worlds. It's like it was similar in my mind, at least. And that is where Orican seemingly dies. Like he's at the tomb, and Trazyn manages to get out, and then Orican is buried in the Exterminatus, and he's like the next 2,000 years or whatever, he starts to crawl out of through there. And yeah, then it's almost the end of the book. Like Trazyn is waiting in orbit. He buried his ship on the moon, on the planet's moon, and the Provisional Council is gone. And I think and I'm not sure about that. So if someone could clear that one up, I didn't get that. So the awakening happened. So the Necron all woke up then. I don't really know. But yeah, Trazyn is the only one left there that cares about the tomb, and he goes down, and he which was one of my favorite scenes in the book. So he buries down through the planet's surface, and because the planet's surface is in showing the epochs that were, like you go through time. It's like an excavation he does. Like first he sees the human city that is buried by the Exterminatus. Then he sees the orcs. Then he sees the other humans, I think. Then he sees the Eldari, and he goes back and back and back and back in the past whilst descending into the planet. Loved that. And there was a hint at the end that the planet itself was created by beings before the Necron, before the Satan, before the Old Ones. I think he says he doesn't believe the Old Ones did it. So we have a mystery race. I loved that. And it's probably just thrown in by the author to give some mystery as to why the planet sings. And it sings this hypnotic song that a certain someone has manipulated. And I love that scene. So he goes down, he goes to the tomb, but Orican is there, and Orican is like, oh no, don't go in, I know the truth, don't go in. And yeah, Trazyn doesn't give a shit. Don't know, he just goes in. And then we see this great hall, and there are all the Necron tier in statue form that are like looking at this Nephrith, I think his name was, the unharmed, unchanged, whatever, and he's there in the distance, his corpse. And they go there, and then the big plot twist happened, which it just blew me away. I loved it. I didn't see it coming. So first there is a little hint. And the hint is that the planet always sends a certain signal, and it's a number sequence. And Orican in the end thinks, yeah, this is from a book. So if you go to a book and it tells you chapter, page, paragraph, word, and if you line them all up, it gives a message. And then there is this moment of clarity where he's like, it's from the War of Heaven. It's from the War of Heaven. Trazyn, it's from the War of Heaven. The book is the War of Heaven. And that's this big revelation. At least it's played like that for Orican. And Trazyn doesn't think about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. You're almost dead crawling around there in the mud. I don't care. And I was like, wait a moment. Every chapter, like almost every chapter, had this little passage of books. Like and like almost every chapter was introduced with quotes from books. like fictional ones. And some of the books were the War in Heaven. And so what the author did, he put those in as Easter eggs, so to speak. And if you go back and decode this number sequence that is sent, you actually get a message, which is, do not be deceived. And I was like, uh-oh. But I loved it. When I realized that they had done that, I was like flipping through the pages, looking at the messages, deciphering them, and I was like, oh, do not be deceived. Oh, this is gonna be bad. What's gonna happen? And I still didn't understand it. I didn't get the plot twist, because that was obvious what the plot twist was from there on, wasn't it? But I was too stupid. Like, if we would have read that live, and by the way, this would have been a great book, I think, to read, like I do Wheel of Time, where I film myself reading it and cut together the best parts. But I went so like, oh my god, what's going on? And I was so dumb. And then the revelation comes that Nephrith was the deceiver. So the deceiver was like, okay, I'm going to undermine them. I'm going to become a Necrontyr. So he went into a Necrontyr. So he's a Satan, the Satan that made them become Necron. And he, a shard of his at least, and he went into this Nephrith body and started the revolution against the Satan to, like, as a cover. And he used the body, and he was sealed away in the tomb. But he spread this legend of a Nephrith being there as a hope for the it was supposed to make Necrons search for it, give them hope, and release him again into the universe so he could do Satan stuff again. Don't even know what they do. I really have no idea what they do. Like, they eat energy, I think. Anyway, and it is revealed that the other Necron that Orican always saw, called Vishani, she was not real. She was like hijacked by, like, she was real. She attended to the tomb, but she was the warden, so to speak. She tried to make sure that the Satan shard didn't wake up or escape. But the Satan damaged her, took her over with some of his parts, and used her to lure the Necron like Orican and Trazyn to the planet to set him free. And this message was the only thing left of Vishani. The message was her warning not to go there, and she failed, and they find her corpse, so to speak, but still a bit alive. Anyway, and then the final battle happens. They awaken this Necron army that were like the Necrontyr statues that were just there and appeared to just be decoration. They turn out to all be Necrons that are there to guard against the Satan should the Satan shard get free, and the Satan starts invoking this decay thing, this flare virus. He starts activating it, and apparently some Necrons have that in their inbuilt into their bone structures or necrodermis, and he wakes that up, so half of the Necrons start turning against the other, and there's this big fight, and then Trazyn starts throwing his Pokeball, Tesseract, Wormhole, Prisons, whatever, and we get so much fan service, and like the Eldari with dinosaurs start attacking them, the Necrons start attacking them, we've got some Marines from the surface, and some Tyranids are sent in to attack them, but in the end, they just managed to hold the Satan off a bit, and Orican, for a short moment, turns into energy, which was what he was training through his meditations, through his calculations all the time, and he manages to wipe out the Satan shard, and they are happy, like they flee, and they are an old married couple again, so to speak, bickering. Like, Trazyn has one part of the shard still in his tomb world. He smuggled that away, and Orican smuggled away the body of the warden because he's a bit in love, something like that, with that one, and wanted to save her. And they plan on attacking each other again and doing the shenanigans again. Hilarious stuff, loved it. And in the end, Trazyn says, "I will go into the Great Rift." So he bargains with the Satan shard of the Deceiver and gets information. He says, "I will go into the Great Rift," and I hope there is another book about that. I don't think so, but if there is, I want to read it. And that was basically the story and how I thought about the story. So some things I want to talk about now after we've gone through the story. So I loved it, loved the story, loved the lore, loved the Necron stuff so much. Like I loved Necron, so cool, so cool. And some questions I had were about the Satan. Like it became more fuzzy what they are. So apparently they are dragon-like things, energy dragon things, and I guess that's abstract. Like it's not a real dragon, it's like this draconic force that is eating planets and energy, and that's basically what they do. They eat energy. That's all they do. And they were bound into bodies by the Necron apparently, but they still can break out if they are powerful enough and if they're not contained. So that's what the Deceiver did. But one thing I was so confused about is because the Deceiver shard consisted of many small shards. So what? How does that work? So is there a Deceiver multi-consciousness that consists of many shards, and it's like a collective as well? So is one Catan a collective? And they have this hive mind, and the hive mind emerges in some of the shards or in the biggest shards. Something like that. That's at least how I understood it. So that was a bit weird. But I loved the flashes to the Necrontyr times. I really loved when we got some flashbacks from Trazyn and Orican. Orican's flashback was him being carried to the forge to be turned into a Necron. And the same was true for Trazyn. But with Trazyn, we are not sure if that was his real memory or a fake one. Perhaps Trazyn was helping the Deceiver. And we don't know, we're not sure about it. But there is this moment where Orican is thinking about it and he says, I believe Trazyn and not the Deceiver. I believe Trazyn, that he was fighting against them as well. Which is very, like, it was set up like Trazyn wants to be immortal, he wants to do more research, he wants to know more about the cultures he preserves and stuff. And it was set up like, yeah, obviously he was helping the Deceiver, but in the end we are not sure. Because from Trazyn's perspective, he still wanted to get back to the flesh. It was hinted at all the time. And it was very cool that Orican was intelligent enough to be like, yeah, the Deceiver probably planted some stuff in our minds to make us think that we hate each other. And yeah, that brings me to their relationship, Orican and Trazyn. That was so good. Like the book lived off of that, of course. And they were different Necron with different personalities and different values. Like the one was the past, the one was the future, the one was space, the one was time. So like Trazyn he wanted to preserve, he wanted to freeze time, so to speak, for things. He wanted to be timeless, and he wanted just to know more about the past, to learn about what living is. And that was great. And Orican was not caring about the past, he was for the future. He wanted a brighter future, he wanted power, he wanted to survive, he wanted to be free of the shackles that his body had placed on him. And it was actually revealed, and perhaps that's a wrong memory as well, but I don't think so, that Orican was the one who saw the Deceiver coming, like the deceive. This is the deceiving. The deceiving was seen by Orican. He tried to warn people, no one listened to him. So that was also a very cool detail. And he was trying to calculate the future from the universe. Obviously it didn't work because there were so many interferences, like the warp, the out of place pieces of time and space that Trazyn used that threw him off all the time. But Orican was trying to look into the future and bring the Necron to a brighter future in making them energy beings. And that was so good. I loved Vishani and the mystery. She was, through most of the novel, at least I understood her as this great mathematical mind who laid out this a trail of breadcrumbs they could follow to the tomb. And of course it was revealed that most of that was the Deceiver, but I loved Vishani, loved her parts. She was creepy sometimes, so There was something off all the time, but in the end, she probably was something that Orican cherished and treasured and wanted to preserve, which was cool. So it was a bit like reversal in the end, because now Orican wanted to preserve Vishani. So he had a bit of Trazyn in him, and Trazyn wanted to know more about the future and more about the universe as it was and would be from the Satan chart. Not all of it that he wanted to know was, of course, about the future, but I felt like he opened up a bit more through Orican. So they changed each other, and the way they called each other colleagues all the time, it was so funny. Like, that's what I think that was what made all of it seem like they were friends all the time. Like, they were trying to kill each other, yes, but I always had the feeling that they were friends, and it perhaps was just me, but the way it was written, I got that from I just got the feeling. It was never said, like, everything that was described was against that, but the feeling I had was always that they were colleagues and friends that were just like trolling each other all the time, even though they were of course serious and tried to kill each other. But it was the feeling I got all the time. They were just colleagues trolling each other, especially Trazyn. They trolled each other all the time. And yeah, last thing I want to say about this incredible novel is that I love the way the agelessness was done. So this novel takes place, I think, over a span of 20 or 30,000 years, or perhaps even 40,000 years, like from very early on until now, 40th millennium. And I love that the way the time was depicted, the way they witnessed the change in the worlds, and they were like these ageless Necron beings. And Trazyn even had this thing where he could like transfer his mind into other bodies, so he was even more immortal than the normal Necron would be, I guess. And they were confronted with mortality and change all the time. And one of the best things was the old librarian that Trazyn had. So Trazyn was posing as a human when he was doing the research together with Orican before the Exterminatus, and he was like sitting below the library and wanted to read all the books about the planet to understand its culture and history, because he was rightly suspecting that there was something about the planet itself that was special. And he had this librarian, and he implanted this mind scarab into the librarian or something like that, and he was just like living with him all his life, and he made sure that he had an okay life. He made sure that he had a okay death, quick death in the end. Like, he was merciful, something like that. And I loved that. And he was weirdly fond of him, and he saw him die, and another came, and it was so good. I loved it. It was so good. And yeah, we just see like the Eldari come and go, the Orcs come and go, the Tyranids in the end, and the humans fighting, and the planet being like destroyed and made into a barren world, the way it started in the book, which was like a bookend, so to speak, even though it didn't end there. But that was so brilliant. Absolutely loved this book. And I learned more lore about, like, I always looked up the things, the Necron soldier things that they talked about to get images into my head, you know, because I didn't have one. So I know about immortals, death destroyers, the flayers, all the crazy stuff, these walking arc things, the pyramids that fly, the ships, the night scythes, and all the stuff. I love Necron. I think for a book like this, they were perfectly fit. I hope we get more about Trazyn and Orican, and they are so good as characters. I love them. And it was so funny, even though it was always stated they were not having emotions or something, they simulated them all the time to make sure to... I think it is like they have these simulations of emotions to make sure that they reach the goals they set themselves. That's what I got from it. Of course, they did not have souls, which was like really feeling emotions I think, because those were eaten by the Satan, as far as I know. And yeah, it was brilliant. I love Necron culture. I love Necron. I loved this book. Like, this was, like, honestly one of the best books I've ever read. Like, it wasn't the deepest book. Like, I've read other deeper books, but for a fictional book in a fictional universe, it dealt with many ideas that were compelling. It had characters that were fun, relatable, even though they were weird robot zombie things. It managed to tell me all the stuff I needed to know in most parts, because as I said, I'm like very noobish what this is concerned. So yeah, loved it. I absolutely loved it. I hope there are more books like this. So if there is more about, like, I want to know more about Trazino and Orica now. They are both great characters. It was great to pit them against each other. And yeah, that's all I can say. It's like 10 of 10. I would say this is a 10 of 10. Yeah. So those were my ramblings, a bit different this time. Not about a lore video, but about a book I read. And I hope you still enjoyed that. And yeah, if you like this, consider liking and subscribing. As I said, we're almost at 2,000 people. I think 10 are missing. So 10 subscribers more, we will be at 2,000. And I will do, as I said, some kind of stream to celebrate, probably. And yeah, I hope that you are well, that you enjoyed this. And please, as always, take care of yourself and have a great day. See you. Bye.